All right. So a lot of people talk to me about 4K this, 4K that, and I do have a couple of cameras that shoot 4K. I have the Sony RX100 Mark V that shoots 4K, and also my iPhone, I think it's in 7 or an 8, I think maybe an 8, can't remember. I put the OtterBox on there, I can't really tell anymore. But that shoots 4K video, and the reason that I like to use it in a 1080p sequence is very simple. Let's say you're just filming with one camera only, one angle, it's the same person the whole time. While the 4K footage does look quite good upon export, and there's a lot of detail there, there's not really a lot of shot variance, and it could come off as kind of boring, especially if you don't have a lot of B-roll. So what I like to do is I pull the 4K footage into a 1080p sequence in Premiere, and while it appears to be zoomed in at first, all you have to do is make a few adjustments, and then you can either scale that 4K footage to appear fully in the 1080p frame, or you can cut it up so there's a couple parts of the sequence that are still zoomed in because it was originally 4K footage, and then you create what looks like a multi-camera sequence, which to your average viewer, let's say a client or someone who doesn't really understand the difference between the resolutions, isn't going to notice. They're just going to appreciate the shot variance, and it'll make you seem more like a professional. So what I'm going to do is show you how to do that right now, using this test clip as an example. So let's take a look. So first I just want to show you how kind of straightforward this is here. This is a thing that I shot in 4K. Let me open it up. Here I am. Wow, pretty exciting stuff. So you can see this this actually looks quite nice. You can see the detail the 4K footage provides, but if the video just continues like this with no differing shots or parts of the screen that look zoomed in, it's going to come off quite boring. So how can we make this better? Let's go into it. So I've already put this clip into my project window in Premiere. I'm going to just I'm not going to drag it over because that would make a sequence that was 4K. So what I'm going to do is go to File, New Sequence, and I'm going to make a 1080p sequence. I shot this in 30 frames per second, so I'm going to make that. Okay. And now, if you drag it over, it's going to say, this clip does not match the sequence's settings. Do you want to change sequence to match the clip settings? Now, if you change this, it's going to make the 4K clip scale down to 1080p, and it's going to fit the frame. But I'm going to say keep existing settings for now. So now what you see when it eventually loads, now see how much more kind of zoomed in it looks? That's because it's just showing you what a 1080p frame within that 4K frame looks like. So the cool part about that is if I go over to my effects controls now and I move around the position left or right, I have all that extra space to play with, so I can kind of create my own frame. Pretty neat, right? But the first thing that you should do is just note that you can go down here to scale the frame size, and now watch. Boom. So that's what you want to do. So what I like to do is I'll Command Z or Control Z on a Mac. I'll go through this clip. If I go through and kind of make little cuts throughout, maybe every 15 seconds or so, and then I scale the frame size every other one, it's going to create a varied shot, and the sequence is going to look more interesting to your average viewer. So let's take a look at how to do that. So we'll start with this. Now I might start zoomed in here, but you know, let's play with, I want to get some of that cat poster in there, so let's go over here. I don't like that shadow, so whatever. I didn't have a lot of lights up here that day. Alright, let's go forward.
I guess if I had to pick a favorite cloud, I'd probably say Cirrus because it sounds...
And so this is about, how long? 45 seconds, so let's do every, like, just as an example, every 10 seconds, let's say. Now you want to make sure your cut is on the action and an interesting, maybe a pause.
Really sure why. I think it's just because...
So I might start right there. So I'll hit C for the cut tool, the razor tool, and then I'll leave that first clip where it is, and then I'll click on the second clip, and I'll put the playhead above it, and then I'll right click, go down to scale the frame size. Now I forget the difference between scale to frame size and set to frame size. Somebody in the comments hopefully can clear that up for me. It's been said to me before, but sometimes I forget, you know what I mean? So scale the frame size. Now, the tricky part is, you can see you're gonna have to rearrange that, so it's usually 960 by 540. So now that's where it is, but now check out the difference.
I think it's just because of the way the clouds kind of are draped.
So it kind of looks neat, but the problem with that is I accidentally applied that to the whole clip there, so I went up Command Z, get back into it, and then I would actually want to make my cuts. Let's just do that as an example. Now I'll go back to scale. I would leave this one zoomed in, and then I would do this, scale the frame size. So now you have four different looking shots within the same sequence, and it's going to make for a more interesting watch. You just got to make sure that you reposition this 960 by 540, and if for some reason you forget, you can always Command C when you're clicked on this individual clip, and then right click on the next one and paste the attributes. I just want to paste the motion. Now watch. Boom. Okay, so now you can see how that looks.
Like water cycles go through the cycle.
And that's it. Pretty fun, right? So now when you export that, it's going to look like a much more interesting sequence, as I said, and I think your viewer is going to be like, wow, did you use 2 cameras for that interview? I thought that was just I didn't even know we had 2 cameras. And you can say, yeah, you know, it's all in the edit. That's not actually a freeze frame, although I know how to do that too. I'm a Premiere whiz.